Hi, and welcome to this week's Creative Pathways talk with Jonathan Chaka Mahone. I'm just here to introduce him a little bit. He's best known as one half of the hip hop duo Riders Against the Storm with his wife, Kidada. And they've had a lot of accomplishments in the Austin music scene with their own Riders Against the Storm Day and winning the Austin Chronicle Band of the Year 3 years in a row. But more than that, he works in a lot of nonprofit organizations, and he has a spirit of service that's clear through his actions. He likes to help the community, especially people of color, and he is definitely a valuable part of the Austin community. And so here's Shaka to talk more about himself. We can get to
Yeah,
know him a bit.
what's going
How you doing?
on, everybody? What's happening?
Good seeing you. Thanks for
Glad,
being here.
glad to be here, man. Definitely, I wore this shirt today in honor of my father. He was actually in Vietnam. He was a soldier in Vietnam, and I feel like in a lot of ways, I'm wearing also my DAWA hat. We'll talk about DAWA later, but I feel like in a lot of ways, this life is a battlefield. It's and you have to be willing to fight. So I wore this today in honor of him and his sacrifice that he made for me to be here talking to y'all today.
Yeah, man, I love that. Just giving back respect to the family and tying it all together. And so,
Always.
yeah, on the topic of your father, let's just start out with what was your background like? I know you grew up in the Northeast, born in Rhode Island, grew up in Pittsburgh. What was that? What was that like for you?
Actually, I'm born in Pittsburgh and kind of grew up in Rhode Island. Like,
Okay, I
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But for me, it was very, man. How would I describe my childhood? I think I was like super curious and into art, and my parents did the best they could to like really expose me to different things. They really like encouraged me to read and learn about the world. And so like I spent my childhood like really immersed in a lot of creative activities, but a lot of that stuff I did on my own, to be honest, because despite their encouragement in certain ways, like my dad was working a lot to provide for us, and my mom, did the best she could. Like they're both there. Don't get me wrong. Like they did a great job, but as a child, I spent a lot of time like by myself. A lot of
Mm,
time like just like in my own world, creating worlds
mm.
and creating art and also doing sports and all type of other stuff. But I feel like the art was like a really special escape for me. And so like it just continues on. Like I feel like I forget the saying exactly, but they say like the artist is the child that survived. It's like in a lot of ways, like our society kind of like encourages us to just like lose that inner child, lose that excited, just person that just wants to create. Oh, I'm a astronaut. I'm a just playful. That kind of gets taken away from us as we get older. I'm just keeping that inner child alive and sharing that with people and encouraging other people to keep that inner child alive in many different ways. But I had a happy childhood overall, and I gotta send love to my parents for like giving me a very safe environment in which to grow.
Yeah, I love that, and that's definitely right. That artists kind of have that child like they see a lot of potential in the world, and they do what they can to realize that potential instead of just saying, "Oh, that's probably not possible, so I'm not going to do it." So yeah, they're really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the artist's actual role is to actually inspire people to see beyond their limitations. You
Mm.
know, we have something in us that refuses to die or refuses to just let limitations be put on us. So um, society needs that. I mean, that's why people go out. They go to a show. They want to see somebody that's like living, even if it's just on stage, because a lot of artists are troubled and have struggles. But even in that time that they're on stage, they just own themselves. They own the space that they're in. And a lot of us don't. We don't feel like we own our lives. We don't feel very empowered. So artists give us that encouragement and give us that inspiration to kind of see beyond maybe our daily kind of monotony of what we're kind of forced into as humans. It's like 9 to 5, got to do this job, do, and we kind of get like mechanized in a way. And I think artists are always trying to search for where's the place where I can be free, and where's the place that we can all be free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when you were first starting out, were you also into music and the visual art side of it all, like from the very beginning, as a kid, or did you have a different approach to art in general?
No, I mean, I've always, I think art honestly like kind of just saved me. I was when I was in college, I had a lot of struggles, like mental health struggles that I didn't really know about. I didn't really understand that I was going through depression
Mm,
in college. And so like I was really struggling. I went to Brown University, but I was really struggling mentally. I was in classes, I was academically doing okay, good, you know, by people's
mm,
standards, but like mentally I was just like really in a not so great place. I mean, it wasn't completely like, you know, dark or anything,
mm,
but in a lot of ways I was having trouble finding my place and really where I wanted to be, like what I wanted to do with my life. And there's a whole thing behind that. I don't want to, you know, we maybe go back to that, but like there are a lot of reasons behind that. And art, you know, mainly was the thing that I could always go to. So like, you know, me and my friends, we would freestyle, you know,
mm,
we would make beats. I worked with young people that were interested in just anything, like it would mentor them, you know, in a few different programs. And that's always where I felt most alive. That's always where I
mm,
felt the most community, was any space where art was happening, any space where music was happening. And so like I just sought those things out as much as I could and didn't necessarily think that a career path was going to be possible for me. I wasn't
mm,
necessarily something, I was kind of taking a more traditional approach until, you know, I figured it out after college, to be honest. But I was really kind of thinking yeah, I can do this, but I can't do it, you know,
mm,
as a career. Um, and then a lot of the career paths that are involved in that, you know, no disrespect to anybody in advertising or marketing or anything like that. That's great. Like I have, use your art to do that. But like I was kind of struggling with the idea that like, okay, I'm gonna create art that's gonna sell Pepsi or it's just
mm,
gonna sell, you know, whatever. That wasn't really exciting me. Like I
yeah,
wanted to really create art that really had an impact and was really inspiring people to think outside of maybe some of the ways we think as people. So I think that was really my struggle, is like how do I, you know, stay true to myself and the things that I
mm,
believe in and make a living, you
yeah.
know, and fulfill that part of me that just needs to be creative. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey getting there, but I feel like I'm there now. I mean, it took what, 20 years?
Yeah, but you made it. I mean, yeah, I think one of
Yeah.
the coolest things about you is that it's very clear that you sort of follow that feeling of, oh, art brings me the sense of community and this sense of, oh, I enjoy serving like the children in the community through art and such. And yeah, you go out of your way to seek that, and that has kind of shaped your life. But yeah, like you mentioned during your college days, you weren't really sure what you were doing. Um, yeah, I know a good amount of students are also on that same path and struggling with that. Do you have any sort of advice for at least prioritizing what your goals can be, finding that sort of mission within yourself, and
I
what that
think,
looks like?
I think programs like E4 Youth are great. I would have loved to have a mentor, somebody just like looking at me from outside of myself that could see
Mm,
me for who I was and would just encourage me to like, keep digging. The struggle that I had was I just felt alone and I didn't really have the vocabulary or the ability to share my struggle. I wasn't, I just wasn't ready to articulate, or I wasn't capable of articulating the things that were going on internally. But I
mm,
think, I would tell any people that if they're in college to try to find a mentor, try to find either a professor or find a program like E4 Youth where you can, just be amongst people that actually just care about you and just uh, encourage your value beyond like anything that you're creating, because like, as an artist
mm,
you're going to create, but you're valuable just as a person regardless. And so I think sometimes, you can feel like, I'm just not valuable, or my ideas just nobody cares, or and
mm,
that's a tough thing to get through. So try to find, if it's not a mentor, at least a community of people that are going to encourage you to keep following your passion.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's sort of like finding it within and just knowing that and building that support system of kind of developing of that thing that's already within you and finding exactly what that is. And so yeah, so when you did graduate college and such, I know you were a teacher for a while. How does that impacted just the way you approach things, or how did that inspire you moving forward?
Well, one of the things that I was good at was, working with young people. So like I followed that path first, because I was honestly at that point afraid to really take the leap to be an artist full time.
Mm-hmm.
So, working with young people gave me a feeling that I enjoyed, and I really enjoyed just like encouraging them, like, and saying like, you can do it. Whatever you're faced with, here are some ideas for how you can overcome those things, or just getting them excited about reading, or just sparking that, seeing them get excited about anything. Like I just love seeing that. And don't get me wrong, it was difficult, teaching in like urban, like it was like an inner city school. It's tough because a lot of flames have been extinguished already. These kids are already 15 and 16 or whatever, and they don't really they don't really want to even be there, So like for me, it was like I enjoyed that challenge of just like, all right, you're here. What are we doing? Let's, you know what I mean? Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And so I took that on, and what I realized is that, I'm telling all these young people, like, follow your dreams, like, okay, you can do that. Okay. Start here, here's some steps, whatever. But I wasn't really taking those steps myself. Like I wasn't really following my own vision of myself as an artist. You know what I mean? Like I had this passion, and my room was full of art. People like hanging out in my room, or have music playing, but like I wasn't like pursuing my truly deep passions. I'm telling the young people, I'm telling other people, and a lot of my life had been about doing that, inspiring, like trying to bring that out of other people. But like I wasn't really digging in my own way, like for my own vision, my own dream. So I had to step away because of, being a teacher. Like I'm going hard, like, I'm doing everything I can, like every, it was a lot. It was a lot. And on top of that, me and my wife, we had a group called Riders Against the Storm. We started in 2004. I was doing that. I had this after school project. It was an art project where we were taking kids that were like bombing and tagging and getting locked up for that. And we created a studio space where we were, teaching them how to like, do commission work, like painting murals, and we're teaching them how to screen print. And, as a time like where the airbrush was real popular. So we were teaching them how to airbrush t-shirts and make a little bit of money. They're doing anything like kind of keep them out of trouble. So I'm doing all that at the same time. So what I just like realized that like I gotta put this stuff down that's like really about, building other people up. Not that I would ever leave that, but like I gotta just focus more on myself. Like, how am I gonna realize myself fully as an artist? I was like not taking that step. Like I was always putting that off. It's like I'll get to it, but no, it's like you're not gonna get to it if you're always, pouring into other people. So that was kind of like I realized that. So around 2008, we started thinking about transitioning out of Rhode Island, which is where we were at the time, me and my wife. That's why I met her in Providence. And so that's actually why we came down to Austin, is to like really pursue, music and art like full time as a career.
Great. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Like you spend a lot of time inspiring others, but then you forget that you need to develop yourself a little bit to just have that sort of fulfillment.
Well, a lot of it. I mean, if you want to actually, this is your business, like you want to be a music as your business.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a tall order. You can't, it takes focus as a business person, right? You have to like really build that, and you have to create, opportunities to bring in income and bring in revenue. And you can't do that like really on a part-time basis. You have to go full-time at it. And you have to, just like any other business, you want to do landscaping, you want to do whatever, you got to get out there, you got to get in the community, you got to hand out your business cards, you got to whatever, like that's your business, that's your career. You got to work on it every day, like like you would work at another job. And so
Yeah.
us coming down to Austin was that phase for us, was that era, that moment for us.
And yeah, so can you tell us more about how Riders Against the Storm started in 2004? Like you said, like I guess I want to know, what was that transition like from not doing Riders Against the Storm and then getting there and realizing that you can help the community, and that moment, I guess, when you felt real, like you were actually doing things through music that was helping the community. And
Well, it always felt real. And the thing for us was actually monetizing it.
I see.
So like, you know, so we've been doing this party called Body Rock, right? We did a Body Rock party for what 11 years now, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, before we came down to Austin, we would throw these house parties like at our house, and we would have people over, and they were talking about these parties like weeks and months after, like when's the next one going to be? And like literally, this was just, you know, me like at the stereo. We had like a 3-disc changer, like DJing with my CDs, like my mixed CDs, and like trying to blow people's mind with whatever song I was playing next. And like we got, you know, people would bring food, and it was just like really, but it was something about us and what we were doing that people couldn't get from anybody else, right?
Yeah.
10's throwing a party and so-and-so's throwing a party, but their parties aren't like our parties, right? And so, you know, we realized there's something that we had as me and my wife that, you know, nobody else had. And so that, you know, and through our performances and everything, we always got great feedback. So it's like, that's something that we can actually turn into a business in terms of like, you know, so-and-so can't do what you can do. So now you have to take that raw material and turn it into something that's consistent and is an outlet for your career, right? So we came down to Austin with a certain knowing that we're unique and we're special, but how do we turn that into a actual career? How do we turn that into an actual business? And that's what took time. It took us, you know, 4 or 5 years to really get those wheels, you know, really on the ground, you know, get that traction. And, you know, a lot of businesses, I mean, you know, when I first got here, E4 Youth was just getting itself off the ground. And I was, you know, there with Carl, like from the very beginning when he was figuring out all, you know, everyone sees this kind of like polished, you know, sports car or whatever, like, you know, with the powerful engine. But like, you know, when we started, when he started this and we were beginning to formulate the ideas of what E4 Youth was, like, man, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of struggle. Again, it's a battle. I'm wearing the shirt. It's a battle. You have to be willing to fight for what you believe in. And, you know, it's taken 10, 11 years to get E4 Youth here. Same thing with, you know, Riders Against the Storm. It took us, you know, 4 or 5 years to really get that thing together. And now, like, you know, we're in a place 10 years, 11 years since we've been here, since we first got here, where, you know, we really have an established thing that's growing.
Yeah, and it's definitely growing and a strong thing now. And yeah, like you said, I want to ask what it was like starting out, like from the humble beginnings of Body Rock as you came down from the Northeast to Austin. How did you build the Body Rock ATX, which is a monthly concert, if I understand correctly?
It's a party.
It's a party.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we start like the house parties that we threw, like we have an energy together. We just like, you know what I mean? It's like if we go to a party, you know what I mean? If we're inspired, a lot of times I don't really like the parties that people throw. It's just kind of like, it's like a template, you know, it's very boring. You know, I go there and I'm kind of like, you want to leave? Like we consider the party an opportunity to engage with people. It's an opportunity to like inspire people and make them feel like they're a part of something larger than them. You know, so a lot of times when we go out, we're kind of like just really, it's lackluster to us. We're not really excited or inspired by what we see because people are going out to, you know, get drunk, or they're going out to, you know, just do whatever, but they're not really coming with the intention of like, we're in this together, you know. And so that's what we like about the party, is it's an opportunity. My wife calls it the bastard child of ceremony. And, you know, in the sense where we go out because we need something, you know, we need a way to connect, you know, with other people. And so there's that potential there of like going to a higher level, like, you know, almost like church, right? You
Yeah.
know, there's that potential there, but there's also just a potential of it just being kind of just cut and paste, you know, whatever. Okay, everybody's drinking, you know, the same songs you hear on the radio are playing, and there's not really a lot of thought or attention put into it. So we always saw that opportunity as something special, and we wanted to like really pour into as much as we could. So that's what made Body Rock successful, is that whether we had, you know, there were nights where we, you know, when we first started, we were doing Body Rock at Plush on a second Wednesday of the month. And like, you know, some nights like 10 people would come out. We're getting 20% of the bar. We might go home with like $20.
Yeah.
But the same energy that people feel now when they come and see us was what we were doing then. You know, we didn't phone it in. You know, if people came in, if it was 10 people, we're gonna reach those 10 people. We want those 10 people to leave here like, man, I can't wait till, you know, next month. And so, you know, we just had that intention. We had that energy, that same vibration, that same frequency every time we did it. And so that's why it's lasted this long. Now we didn't do any live Body Rocks. Well, our last Body Rock was our 10-year anniversary in February, and there's 800 people there at outside of Empire. So it's like, you know, people come because they want that feeling, and for us, that's what hip hop is all. You know, that's the initial feeling we got from hip hop. You know, it was like this energy that is really uplifting, and it really makes you feel like you're a part of something larger. And so, you know, that's what we do with that party. Is, you know, people call it church. You know, it's like it's definitely it can be a very religious experience if you allow it to take you somewhere. If you kind of just allow the energy to enter into you, and not just kind of like, you know, just, I mean, it's like life, you know, if like you go outside, there's a lot happening. It's a party out there, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a party going on, the birds, everything is popping, but you can just walk through and not let it hit you, not absorb it. And you miss the opportunity to really celebrate all the life that's happening around you. And so like Body Rock is just like it's like a metaphor for that. Like we just, you know, look at all the wonderful people that are here. Look at all the wonderful energy. Let's celebrate that. Let's take each other higher.
Yeah, and do you have any advice for people trying to develop that sort of community and feeling that connection with their audience and nowadays in this time of COVID? Like, do you have any ideas about how that can happen?
I mean, I think you just have to just be authentic, you know, in what you're doing. And I think, you know, over time, that I think that's like for us. And I was just tweeting about this on Twitter, actually, just right before this. Is don't compare yourself to anybody else. Like they say comparison is a thief of joy, right? Like whatever you're doing, do it how you want to do it, and do it with the intention that, you know, this is the best thing that you can do, and just put your energy into it like fully authentic. Don't try to be like so and so. I mean, take notes. I mean, if you like something that someone's doing, but just authentically be yourself and do it because you love it. And don't expect you know, initially like a huge reward for it. Don't expect you know, it to just, you know, take off, but do it consistently and do it authentically and do it with your, you know, your full self. And I think that then you have a chance to see it grow. But I think a lot of us, because of, you know, how things like we don't, a lot of us don't garden, you know, we're not connected to life in that way. It's like, you know, nobody puts a seed in the ground and like comes out the next day and gets mad that there's no tomato, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not how this works, you know? And so that's life, man. You gotta put the seed in the ground, you gotta water it, you know, and then, you know, sometimes it comes up and it's just a dud, you know what I mean? Not every fruit that comes off is gonna be one that you're gonna pick and eat. You know, so you just have to have that willingness to invest in what you claim to be wanting to do, and you know, be ready to fight for it. Again, that's why I'm wearing the shirt. It's like, you know, be ready to go, you know, toe to toe for what you say you believe in, what you say you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to argue with the person that's just following their goal, just being genuine themselves and not trying to pretend to be anything they aren't because they're just who they are.
Yeah, that's just it, you know. And over time, people really respond to that, you know. But you know, and it can, you know, I know people that are really masterful at the social media and really kind of creating that idea that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can go that route. But I don't think a lot of those things are long lasting. A lot of people are really good at marketing and really good at creating content that portrays an image of these things that I'm talking about. But I see a lot of those things kind of coming and going. And you know, maybe as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you just want to take advantage, like, oh, people are into this, I'm gonna just do this type of thing. And that's cool, but those things tend not to last, and they tend to not be as life-giving. You know, you can generate money, but you know, for me personally, it's that balance of like, you know, is this really authentically me? And then also, you know, how do I turn what's authentically me into something that, you know, I can, you know, monetize, you know? And so I'm generally not looking to monetize first. You know, I'm generally like, you know, what do I really want to do? What excites me? And then figuring out a way to like monetize that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that you said life-giving, because then you're just kind of following what feels right more than doing the math and seeing how you're gonna best get over financially.
Right, and that's, you know, there's no judgment on that. Like people, you know, people see a trend and they'll just be like, oh, people are buying that, you know, I'm gonna make that, right? Nothing wrong with that. That's more of a business person's mentality, you know, perspective. And you know, I'm partially a business person too, so I get it. You know, for me personally, that usually doesn't end up lasting for me. Like I can't really, you know what I mean? Like I can't sell people something that I don't really believe in. Like I would never, you know, sell people like, you know, soda or whatever. You know what I mean? Even if, you know, somebody's like, yo, I'll give you all this money, like, you know, to represent this brand. Like if I know the brand's not healthy for people, I'm not gonna do it. And that's just me personally. But you know, to each their own.
And yeah, and so speaking of things that give life, you have a new album called Flowers for the Living out, and I can just show off your single. And do you want to introduce it at all?
Yeah, sure. Flowers for the Living is actually the title of our album. I'm sorry that there's a dog barking at someone at the door.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
He's probably gonna keep barking for a second. He'll calm down. Yeah, Flowers for the Living is the title of our album that we just released. Actually, Ayuma from E4 Youth is a, you know, young person that I've mentored for years in E4 Youth. I knew him before, you know, I brought him into E4 Youth when he was like 14, 15. Now he's 23, so it's like 8-9 years I've known him. He produced Flowers for the Living, and he produced a bunch of songs on the album. So shout out to him. But the album is really about, or the song is really about, not waiting for people to die before you recognize them or say you love them. Or, you know, a lot of times, like especially in the Black community, you know, someone passes on tragically, and, you know, we create a T-shirt, and you know, we wear the T-shirt and we kind of honor that person. Then it's like, you know, why not make the T-shirt now? You know, while they're still alive. You know, how powerful is that? Is to be like, yo, like I love you, but I just made a T-shirt. I just put you on my shirt. Like that's how much I love you. You know, like why do we wait until you know, it's a tragic time for us to be like, yo, I really am inspired by this person, or I really appreciate this person. That's when we want to tell the stories about them and how much they meant to us and all that. Like, why we wait for that moment? Let's do it now, so they can know, so they can smell the flowers and be encouraged by knowing that they're loved in that way. So that's what the song is kind of embodying.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful message, especially nowadays. But yeah, here's the single.
Mama say, mama sigh, mama, oh my. Look to the girls who obey, and the boys don't cry. No flowers on my grave, cause I never die. Live your life for free. die a million times. Bring the flowers to the liver, cause it's always time. Middle finger to the laws and the hand of God. Just above the heart, where your soul reside. Born with it, can't quit it, nah, never retire. But I will return, and I will revive. Many lessons learned, singing through these lives. Put us in a box, a kind of nature wild. Going back to the earth, you ain't civilized. You ain't smarter than us, you ain't from our tribe. So full of hate, all you know is crime. All you know is death, you're mortified. So we walking away with a big ass smile. It's a flowers for the living.
Flowers for the living. Flowers for the living. Flowers for the living. Flowers for the living. Flowers for the living. Flowers for the living. Flowers, flowers, flowers.
I'm pretty dark, yellow, so here goes in the header. Read up with the heroes in the book. Underneath the neon sign, so I know I made you look. Let me be a do-gooder, let me get you some sugar. I'm prime and maison, so you know I deliver. Carry on like a dawn, living up in the villa. Leaders of the pack, see the people and dance. Enhance your heart rate, advancing our take. Hell no, we ain't waiting on you. Here's a Mardi Gras party and the flowers we threw. Let it break down, hear the populace loud. We're done with the sounds of the guns in the crowd. Walk on flowers like Prince I King. Making more sense of the things I've seen. Angel in disguise, let me do my thing. Throw the flowers in the air so the people sing.
Flowers for the living. 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 Flowers, flowers, flowers.
Great, man. I love the song. And yeah, you mentioned beforehand that it was produced by Ayuma, and you work with him through the Music Legacy Project, and you also spearhead the Music Legacy Project, which is a part of E4 Youth. So would you like to introduce that? And I would also just like to personally know how has it been for you to see young artists grow over time, and what's that been like for you?
I love seeing it, man. I love seeing it. You know, it's, you know, Ayuma is somebody, he always stood out. You know, he was like a super talented, you know, you don't see talent like Ayuma like all the time. You know, he, you know, was playing the sax at a really, you know, he was like beyond his years playing the saxophone, like at like 15, where he would just kind of blow your mind. And so when you see something like that, you just want to help it grow, right? And so I'm glad that, you know, there's something like E4 Youth that could nurture, you know, his talent and his ability. And I think that, you know, at 23, he's still, you know, finding his path in terms of, you know, a career in music, which again is like, you know, unless you take a certain route, like a lot of times, like maybe, you know, you take a more of a corporate route, you know, just following your own path and your own specific vision for yourself as an artist is a very difficult road, like,
Yeah.
you know, and so like he's been fighting for that, and like I'm really encouraged to see him, you know, continuing on that journey and not giving up on it, because regardless of how talent, like he is an extreme talent, you know, it's there's a lot of pieces you got to put together to be able to, you know, do it in a way that's crafted so like on your own, and you know, people can take different paths, but like the path that he's on is a path that, you know, I want to encourage, you know, some people to be on. It's not for everybody though. You know, you have to fight. But it's I mean, just having him, like, you know, from knowing him from 15, get back to your question, knowing him from 15, and, you know, being working with him on songs now it's awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, and I was actually I was introduced to E4U through the Music Legacy Project, and
right.
I remember that a lot because it definitely made the music industry a lot more accessible seeming. Like, it's not easy at all, but it did make it seem more accessible, but just because like when you ask the right people the right questions, a lot of the times they're willing to help you out. And just even with you introducing the students to talent buyers and journalists and stuff like that, it kind of brought the whole music industry into like a more concise form. And so I want to ask, like, how did you sort of build that curriculum? Did you spend a lot of time just thinking about how you got to where you are, or
like I just thought about the things that I would have wanted to know, because like people don't understand, like when we came down here, I'm 43 now, right? So when we came down here, I was 32 or whatever, and you know, I'm in my 30s, you know, starting a whole new path. I don't know what I'm doing, like I don't know how to, you know, really do what I'm doing. And so, like, you know, everything from booking gigs to, you know, I mean, aside from the basics of like promotion, making flyers, and, you know, just attempting to do something on a grassroots level, like there was so much we had to learn. And so, like,
yeah,
I just thought about like, would I have wanted something, like when I first got here, like if somebody could have taught me for a couple months, what would I have wanted to know? And that's exactly what I brought to the students. Now, it can be a little intense for folks and a little overwhelming in a sense, for if you're young, but at the same time, I was like, we don't want to sugarcoat this. Like, this is not a Disney fairy tale, like where, you know, every now and then you hear somebody, they made a song in their bedroom and recorded it and it went viral. But that's like, you know, it's 1 in a billion or whatever it is. Like the chance of you just creating something and instantly monetizing it in some type of way is like very low chance of that. So in that regard, you should really learn what it is this business is about, because this is a business. This is not a open mic. This is not a whatever. This is a business that you have to understand. Nobody goes into a restaurant business and just like, I'm just going to freestyle this and just change my menu every day. And I might be open, I might not, you know, there's rules to it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to learn how to talk to your vendors. You have to learn how to invoice. You have to, you know, learn how to talk to, you know, if you're going to go to a financial institution, you have to learn, you know, there's all types of stuff you have to learn. It's a business. But for some reason, like musicians kind of think it is something else. No, this is a business. This is a record industry. It's a music business. And that was a hard thing for me to get through my head. Like, you know, I was like, oh, you know, no, you have to be a business person.
Yeah, and especially as a musician nowadays, like you're not gonna make your money from music, kind of straight up. So you have to be a businessman about it, and then also branch into other paths. And well, that brings me to asking the question about.
I see a question here though.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you want to answer that or just tag it so we can answer it. Somebody asked about navigating creative differences.
Yeah,
I don't want to interrupt you though if you was going somewhere.
No, yeah, we can go ahead and answer that as well. Here we go.
Yeah, man, that is one of the hardest things. So let me just be transparent that, like, you know, being creative, you know, we have different visions, and so like we have to. The main thing is just being able to communicate, and being honest. And you know, sometimes those things blur. Like, you know, sometimes issues that we may be having in our relationship may blur into a conversation that we're trying to have about getting something done with music. That's inevitable. You know, when you you know, when you see, that's why a lot of groups, they don't last, right? You know, it's like creative differences and everything, and then, you know, they end up breaking up and going in different directions. Like, we're in a relationship as husband and wife, so we got to make sure we're constantly communicating, and then if we're unable to communicate, then create space and time for that communication to happen, because if it doesn't happen, it ends up building up and becoming something that it doesn't need to be. So, you know, over, you know, we've been 14 years together, like we've learned different ways to do that. Also, you know, we've engaged in also therapy, like, you know, couples therapy, where we and have someone facilitating our conversation so we can work things out, and be open and honest about whatever type of difficulties we're having. And that's just, you know, I encourage like everyone out there, like to engage in therapy, to have someone that they can talk to about, you know, whatever it is you're processing, because, you know, a lot of the dialogue that we have inside, and this is what crushes our dreams. A lot, we tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not valuable, we're not, you know, whatever. And that's not necessarily what's actually going on at the time, but that we create that through our thoughts. So it's good to have, you know, someone that you could talk to that's not necessarily always a friend or whatever, someone outside of your immediate group that can objectively look at what you're saying and give you advice, give you something to think about and grow on. So yeah, we you know, we tend to, like, I say like 90% of the time we have the same idea about something, but that 10% is big. That 10% can be really hard. So, you know, we just have to stay committed to, like, you know, communicating about it, being honest. When we hurt each other, or we you know, let each other down, you know, apologizing, being, you know, taking responsibility for any mistakes that you make, and being, you know, being willing to grow from those mistakes.
Yeah, and I like that you talk so much about communication there, because like you said, like, therapy is important, because I would see it as a sort of being able to communicate with yourself and working out ideas with a third party that's not biased in a way. And if you're able to communicate with yourself, then you're able to communicate with the partner way better, and through that they just kind of build off each other.
There's another question.
Let's see. You have any daily practices or habits?
I do, and I'm working on doing more, because I find that, like, the more that I can just be grateful, because, you know, I'm sitting here, I have my own office now, you know, like, you're behind me, this is like my office. This is a place where I can go and work and focus on whatever it is I need to focus on. My wife also has her own office. You know, there was a time where we you know, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment, you know, crowded, like trying to do art projects, and you know what I mean, because I'm also a visual artist and stuff. So, you know, I'm creating this stuff. You see this painting back here, I painted that. I'm like painting on stuff, and we barely have any room, so we're getting in problems about that. I'm bringing home stuff, like I find wood, and I'm bringing it home, and it's like in the living room, just sitting there, like, when are you gonna paint that? Like, what's that doing? You know what I mean? So it's like this. I mean, there was a time where we didn't, you know, we didn't have this, you know. So I think the main thing that I try to encourage people to do is practice gratitude. Like, look back on, like, how far you've come, right? And keep that perspective. You know, every day, you know, you're growing, or things are changing. So, like, try to keep that perspective. You know, sometimes you might get in your head about, well, you know, I wanted to have, you know, this and that. No, but, like, think about the things that you did focus on, and that you did manifest, and you did make happen. So try to find some time in the day where you can just, you know, count your blessings, in a sense, and just be grateful. Just, like, look around and just say, hey, like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm here. Like, you know, I may not feel my best today, but, like, you know, practicing gratitude is huge for me. And, you know, just being gentle with yourself. Like, you know, you know, I'm still learning, like, how to just really be kind to myself, you know, and not, you know, be so critical of myself. Like, oh, you can be doing this better, or, you know, you haven't done that yet, you know, It's like, no, like, look at all the things that you're doing. Look how far you've come. Like, I can look at this, you know, even doing this right now, having a conversation with you. I know that Carl, you know, has however many students, any 4 youth. I remember the time like all this was just a dream. Like everything was just a dream, and and there was just a logo and just like a skeleton of a website. You know what I'm saying? So it's like being able to like just have appreciation for that. Even in an email recently with Carl, we were talking about getting some equipment, and it was like thousands of dollars, and he was just like, yeah, I think we can do that. And I was just giving thanks in that moment. Like I remember a time where this would have been like impossible. Like we would have been like stressed about like how are we gonna make this happen? But he's like, yeah, we got a budget for that. Like that's so amazing. Like just give thanks for that. Give thanks for the growth. It's easy to focus on the things that aren't there, but like look at what's around you and what you have accomplished, and lean into that as much as you lean into, or no, more. Lean into that more than you lean into things that aren't that you don't see right now. And keep those things in your mind as you continue to be grateful and move forward.
Yeah, and gratitude can definitely help you focus on the right things and inspire you to follow what you want to do instead of just thinking about your problems all the time, because then that'll get you kind of stuck.
Yeah, some other questions. I don't know.
Yeah, we got, where do you get the inspiration to create your music as well as produce these music videos?
All right, what's up, Donnell? It's a multitude of things. So like even the song itself, like Flowers for the Living, that melody was in my head for like over a year before, or maybe a little less than a year before we actually started working on the music for that goes to the melody. And then, just coming up with the lyrics and all that, like, I think it's really just about following the inspiration and not letting, not giving up on it, like just staying with it. Right. And so like inspiration is never, I don't know if it's because I'm a creative or artist or whatever. I'm always inspired. Like I can go outside right now, see a butterfly, fly by and see the color of its wings and just like stay fascinated about those colors on the wings, and get lost in that. And then, forget that I was trying to go outside and go to the grocery store or whatever. So like inspiration is constant. I actually have to try to like tamp down something because I'm constantly, I'll be just like creating it and I got to do, this talk to our bookkeeper or do this or do that or stay focused, or get ready for the legacy class that I'm about to do or whatever. Like, so inspiration to create music is always there. I think creating the time to actually do it is the biggest challenge, to actually, because, there's the writing of a song, coming up with it, there's the mixing of it. And then, maybe as I'm writing or as we're writing a song, you start to get visuals for the video, or maybe the video visuals come before the song is even written. It varies. It's different. But we knew we wanted to have, and in the case of Flowers for Living, we knew we wanted to have flowers involved. All the people in there are people in our lives in different ways. There's Chris Hills. I'm not gonna name everybody, but just Chris Hills is a comedian here. He's a good friend of ours. He's also getting into music. Lady Earth is in there. She's a partner of Facade, who was our DJ for a while. Nook Turner is in there. He's part of the Black Austin Coalition that just passed a resolution through the city of Austin that's going to be about like repairing the damages of a long line of discrimination against the Black community. All different people in our lives, different identities, queer folks, all different identities and people. We wanted to really display like the spectrum of Black excellence and beauty that surrounds us, that we're blessed to be around. So in a way, those are flowers that surround us. And then you have the flowers, in the actual video that are on the crowns and also placed throughout the video. Then you have the flowers in the sandwich, kind of like we wanted to make the statement, you are what you eat. So, you know what I mean? Like nobody's going to really like eat a sandwich of flowers, but it's a metaphor. Like, it's like of just like bringing things in your life that are bringing you life and celebrating that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's constantly going on. I'm constantly writing ideas down, little notes to myself that are kind of like breadcrumbs to other thoughts, because I can't always get to it. Like, like all the ideas that come, I can't always get to them. So it's like writing them down or taking a picture of something and writing some notes on that or whatever. I mean, for me, the goal is to be able to get to those things more
Yeah.
and not have to do some of the other things that, you know, don't involve creativity, like, you know, just, you know, doing this contract or trying to find this, you know, whatever, researching this or that, or learning more about marketing and all the different things that go into that. You know, my goal is to just be creative, you know, more than anything. And so, you know, we're getting there, and I'm definitely thankful that we're in the place that we're in.
Yeah. And so it's sort of like getting that inspiration and then documenting it and then getting to it when you can and executing and on that vision.
Yeah, and just like staying, you know, I think the idea is that stay the longest are the ones that get done.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The ones that like really just kind of stick. You can't let go of them. You can't shake them, because I mean, I'm getting ideas all the time. So it's just the ones that like are the loudest are the ones that get done the soonest.
Yeah, great. And here's another question: how did you best learn, and what kinds of experience lead you have the most growth and reflections?
How you learn best, and what kinds of experiences lead? I learn most best through doing it. I can't. It's hard for me to really understand something until I do it.
Yeah,
like I can talk about it, and that's why I think, you know, something like music legacy project is, I can really teach about that. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, this is exactly what I had to learn to be in the position that I'm in. So like, I couldn't have read the book and then taught it in the same way. Like, no, like, these are the struggles that I had establishing myself as, you know, having a career in music. This is what you need to think about. This is what you need to plan for. These are things that you should avoid, you know, at this step. Don't worry about this before you have this in place. You know, these are things that I can tell you that, like, because I went through that, right? So I learned best through experience. And then I also learned best through observation. I think experience, participation in something, and observation. Like, I like to watch people, not to compare myself to them, but just to learn what they're doing and how they're doing it, or learn from their mistakes. Like, we have generations and generations of musicians that we can learn, like, you know, that signed contracts that they shouldn't have signed, and made moves and you know, experienced things that, you know, weren't necessarily were kind of a detriment to their careers or their own personal wellness or whatever. So I learned from that. I observed that. I'm not, you know, I'm going to take notes on that and say, like, you know, oh, they took that step, I'm not going to take that step. Or, you know, I'm going to think about everything that could possibly, you know, happen before I take that step. Because I, you know, these people, you know, a lot of times you watch it and you're like, oh, that's too bad. But then you do the same thing. It's like, no, you learn from it. Don't do the same. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, the label, you know, Sonny gave her all their royalties. It was like, don't do the same thing. Don't be in a rush to do that. It's like, okay, well, how do I set myself up so that I can, you know, not be victimized by an industry that's really looking to pretty much take advantage of artists?
Yeah, we definitely have the luxury nowadays to just do a lot of research into other artists and how career paths can go, and then kind of pick and choose what seems the best for us.
Right. Learn from the good things, but also learn from the hard things. You know, it's like, I really feel like, you know, on a spiritual level, like, we're all here, like, teaching each other all the time. You know what I mean? And so, you know, do your best to learn from everything that you're seeing. Everything that's happening, like, learn from it as much as you can. I mean, you don't have to, like, take, you know what I mean? But just like, people, it's like, we're symbols for each other. You know, you see something happening and don't like disconnect it. It's like, no, like, that person is teaching you now through you experiencing what they're going through. Like, learn from it. Like, that's how, you know, you don't necessarily have to make the same mistake. Like, you can learn from that. You can learn from your own failures, but you can also learn from the failures, or let me not even say failures, the experiences of other people. You know, that's what's great about now, is like, you can really, like, like you said, you can research, and there's tons of interviews of your favorite artists or whatever. You can just sit there and you can just, like, you know, really learn from their experience. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think someone described it to me as other people are lifting up the rock bottom so that we can even reach higher heights. So, like, through their stories.
Yeah, man. And like, you know, don't take that for granted, you know. Don't take that for granted. Like, there's a wealth of information out there via the internet. and whatever. And then whenever you get a chance, like for the young people, young artists out there, whenever you get a chance to be around someone that's done something more than you, ask questions, man. Don't waste your time just, being shy. Like, get as much from them as you can. Like, pull from that resources as much as you can, because you don't know, you'll be able to see them again, and you'll be able to have the opportunity again. So even if it's just one thing you're trying to find out, like ask people questions.
And
I see. I see Zetrock's out there. I don't know if he's still. That's we've done a lot of shows. It's DJ, great DJ out here. He's DJ with us so many times. Love how your creative motor is so high and consistent. What do you do to get away from the grind? I think that's where, like, the balance, like my wife definitely helps me in terms of just, making sure that I'm like taking time away. And that's not something that is necessarily like, I'm so like just inspired all the time. It was like, I'll just constantly be creative. Like, I'll constantly be tinkering on something, but it's good to just like, just chill. And so it could be, going for a walk, going for a hike, just sitting by some water, getting in some water. Like, water always feels like a cleansing, situation where it's just really, water is just really refreshing and cleansing. Try to get in some water. Just do things that I love with people that I love. It could be, just going out and shooting some hoops with somebody, or it could be, going out, getting a slice of pizza or whatever, and just having a conversation. Anything from that, small things like that, to like trips. We try to, because we have the privilege now, we're in a position where we can take trips, where it's like, a few years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we didn't have that type of situation. Just enjoy a trip, go somewhere and just be somewhere else, and just get inspired by a new environment. Every time I go on a trip, I realize, like, man, I need to do this more. Because it's just something about getting out of your routine. Like, if you look at your week and your day, you're pretty much doing the same thing every day. Like, even if you vary up your workout routine or whatever, it's like, you're going to the same gym, you're taking the same road, you know what I mean? You're talking to the same people, and there's nothing wrong with that. But getting out of that, for a moment, it gives you more perspective on what you're doing here, and it opens up kind of pathways, like neural pathways in your brain. Like, certain different things start happening just by getting out of your day-to-day thing that you do. So like, taking a trip, even if it's just for a day, just driving somewhere new. I love driving, so that's something I do too. Just get in the car and drive somewhere. I might just drive for an hour or whatever, come back, feel, just, I don't know, something about just the open road and getting out of the house. I love doing that too. So those are a few things.
Getting out into the world helps you see that there's a world out there that you can impact, and then it reminds you.
Also, yoga is big, like stretching, sit down a lot, being on these calls, Zoom meetings or whatnot. So like, finding time to like just stretch, breathe, meditate. And, a lot of people, I think when they hear it, shout out Zetrock, man. It's been too long, man. We got to see you soon, hopefully. I think a lot of people think like meditation means that you're like zoning. If you don't like get to some like Zen space and you failed or something like that. But really, for me, like meditation is just like every day finding like 15, 20 minutes where I just try to tap into myself. Like, I just try to like be more present with myself, and it can be a challenge when like you wake up, you got a full calendar, and already your day is already like taken off from like the minute you get up. But trying to not look at your phone, for the first hour when you get up is helpful. Not letting the day just like kind of take you over, like being more in control of your day, where it's like, if you can get up, just sit. You don't have to do the cross leg or whatever. Just sit up straight in your chair or on your couch, or you can even just lay down and be awake, but just breathe and get in touch with your breath, and just, as thoughts are coming in about what you're doing next, just like let them go and try to stay in a state where you're not focused on doing anything. You're just really present with yourself. You can actually feel like, okay, like I'm here, like my feet are on the ground. Feel your feet on the ground. Like there's a lot of detachment that you have to do to just get things done. And we don't realize sometimes how far detached we are on a daily basis. Like we don't really, like we get in a car, we're already driving halfway to the place we're going, and we realize that we're in the car. Like we didn't, we just like, you know what I mean? Autopilot. And it's like, okay, you're in the car now. You're like, where am I going? Like, you know what I mean? You're just kind of like, and that's incredible. Like the brain can do all these things. Like you can make all these things happen without really thinking or being present. But we have to be careful of that, because it's like, you do that for too long, then you really you miss out on a lot of things. So that's why it's like really good if you can just try to find a moment in your day to just be present with your breath. And, even if it's just 10 minutes, just breathing, feeling the breath in, feeling the breath out. And, what I try to do, like when it's challenging, is just like, okay, like, what does it feel like sitting? Like just really get in touch with like my leg on the chair right now and my feet on the floor, and, just staying focused on that feeling, like keep my mind on my feet being on the floor, and or like move my attention up to something else, like, oh, okay, my back, my shoulders, oh, I'm feeling my shoulders now. Because again, like a lot of times we're not even present in our body. We don't even feel like where we're at. And anytime I bring attention to it, it makes me straighten up. Okay, I'm a little bit, boom, So the more kind of attention we can bring to these things, I feel like the more alive we feel and the healthier we are.
Yeah, just that act of trying to intentionally reach into that brings you a lot of just the presence, and that can definitely take you really far. And so, yeah, for this last question, do you have any main advice for how young creatives can pursue non-traditional jobs?
I think you have to be willing to like take risks, like, and you have to be willing to like feel crazy. You have to be willing to like feel alone. I could tell you, like, for a large part of my life while I was figuring this out, it's like my parents and other people, not just my parents, people in my family, like, when are you gonna kind of get it like a real job? I heard that a lot, like, or when are you gonna get this lined up? When are you gonna get that lined up? You're in your 30s, like, when are you gonna get this together? When are you gonna get that together? And it was hard for me mentally, because these are people I wanted to really believe in my talent and believe in my vision, that were close to me, that really didn't, to a large extent. It's not that they were like being negative, but they just couldn't see what I could see. And so you have to be willing to kind of just get in that boat and just kind of push away from what your village, whatever, the beach, whatever, and just like go into a wide open sea that is just waiting for you, and there's going to be all types of hurricanes and waves and stuff, and you just have to be willing to stay committed to that and hold on to that vision, like, and that's the main thing. And I think that's the hardest thing, because bills and people's expectations, and just life in general, it can really push you this way or that way. But if you really feel it within yourself, that's really what matters, man. And like each of us has gifts that we have, and maybe the thing that you think is your gift, you haven't really spent enough time to really like realize really what it is. But for me personally, like I've had a vision for myself as an artist for some time, and I just stayed true to that, and the feeling that I got from pursuing that, and that's what kind of got me to the point where I'm at. But again, like, listen to what I'm saying is that this is 11 years down the road. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's how long it's going to take you, but are you willing to put in 11 years to the thing that you say that you want to do? Are you willing? Like, ask yourself, like, is that because I remember, being at a point and thinking about other careers, like even teaching. I looked at myself like, do you see yourself being a teacher and like being in this, kind of box, as going to this place or a place like every day, like for the next 10, 15 years? Do you see that? Is that what you see? And if the answer you get back is no, then then you have some reorganizing to do. But if it is, when you think about this thing, you have photography or music or whatever, you have film, when you think about it, you see yourself doing that 10, 15 years from now, and keep going. But if you honestly don't, then it's a hobby.
Yeah, and there's no time like the present to pursue your dreams, and then also decide what that'll look like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's these are deep things that you really have to be honest with yourself about. Like, and again, I think that a lot of people that take more traditional jobs, it's not that they're, it's just that I think that they realize that, for them, like security is more important than, taking the other route. And I think that that's great. You just have to ask yourself, like, what really, like, who are you? Like, is it more important for you to have this job professional track? And if it is, then can you do the professional thing and try to pursue this other thing until you get yourself to a point? But regardless, it's gonna take a lot of time, and you got to ask yourself, like, are you willing to sacrifice the time that it's gonna take?
Well, great, man. I mean, that's great advice, and we all got stuff to think about for sure.
Always.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And clearly, we have a lot that we can learn from you. And I guess tell people where they can find you.
You can find Riders Against a Storm if you're on Instagram at Ross Hip Hop, RASHIPHOP. That's also please subscribe to our YouTube channel. YouTube channel is youtube.com/RAS Hip Hop, Ross Hip Hop. Our website is rosshiphop.com. My Instagram is up there. You can follow me there personally at Chaka Select. If you go to any of our pages, you please stream our music. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. Riders Against the Storm. We got a new album out called Flowers for the Living. Please listen to that music. Share it with your friends. And there's all types of other stuff going on. Yeah, I got a clothing line, fresh2life.com, fresh2life.com. And I'm doing a rebrand for that right now, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, man, DAWA, and we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't get to it. But yeah, I linked to all these other things that Chaka works on in the description, and there's a long talk that a presentation he did with Big Medium that I also linked in the description. So definitely dive into Chaka's story, because we can definitely learn a lot from him, as you can tell. And if you want to work directly with him, sign up for the Music Legacy Project and learn how to develop yourself as an artist. I know it's been really valuable for me, and you get a lot of value from it, it seems. And
yeah, man, definitely. Like this year has been very different from years past. But I always get a lot out of it. And like, I think, like I say it all the time, like it's all about y'all, like, cause y'all excite me, and that's what gets me more excited about giving y'all more. So it's kind of like, it's like a performance in a sense, it's like you go out, there's a crowd there, like they give you something, it's a back and forth. So like, I love, you guys inspire me to be more creative. And join the Music Legacy Project if y'all are interested in a career in music, man. Join us.
Yeah, thank you, man. You're a really inspirational guy, and I'm really glad that I know you. And
likewise, man.
Well, thanks for joining us. And if you want to support E4 Youth, visit us at e4youth.org/donate to support more projects like these and the Music Legacy Project and everything else that we're working on.
Support E4 Youth, y'all, man. Y'all doing it's a great project. It's a great thing that's happening in Austin. So please, y'all, if you're watching this, support them. $5, $10, whatever you could do. It goes a long way.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for talking, and yeah. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, thanks, man. Peace.
Man.